How to keep a Bumble conversation going.
Yeah, tell me about it.
And not just any Bumble conversation, I mean one that's engaging, funny, and gets you really good replies, and obviously leads to a date. Something that pains me being an online dating coach is seeing the others put out these cringe openers that maybe get a good response at first, but then there's nothing of substance to follow it up. People put so much focus on sending a good opener, but then it all comes crashing down. And the thing with Bumble anyway is the girl does start the conversation, so this is less applicable even when it does come to Bumble. I mean, usually they do hit you just with a hi, and you have to start the conversation anyway, but that's beside the point. So if you want to make sure that your conversations don't fade into obscurity, definitely watch this video right to the end. But first, if you're new to the channel, my name is Steve from dudehack.com, and I'm an online dating coach for men. Now at Dudehack, we help guys perfect their online dating game. So if that's something that you're interested in, then I highly recommend subscribing. But today is all about how to actually have a good conversation on Bumble. So let's get into it.
Here we go.
So look, right off the bat, here are some ways that you can have much better conversations when it comes to Bumble or really any dating app for that matter. First and foremost, ask open-ended questions. None of these "did you have a good day" nonsense. Ask her why she likes her hobbies and interests. Send a GIF. Set up in-jokes and callbacks. Don't be afraid to tease her in a playful way. Identify your common interests. Demonstrate your value. And most importantly, apply the 6 pillars of conversation to have thriving conversations that always lead to a date. Now, a lot of those ideas, and especially the 6 pillars of conversation, are taken from my online video course. It's called Hook Her Heart. We will get into that a little bit later, but if you do just want to cut right to the chase, there is a link down in the description. But if you haven't figured it out by now, there doesn't have to be this cookie cutter approach to having a good conversation on Bumble. There are so many different ways that you can stand out. But what I have found from doing this for almost 7 years now and helping thousands of guys, generally good conversations come down to a total of 6 factors or pillars. And that's why it's called the 6 pillars of good conversation. But first, a lot of guys that get started on online dating, they come to me and they say, why do the conversations fizzle? Like, I'm doing everything right. I'm being nice. I'm asking her questions. I'm being a polite, friendly guy. That's what girls want, right? And unfortunately, a lot of the time it comes down to the guys are just being a little bit boring. They're not standing out. They don't know the landscape and the fact that these girls do have hundreds, if not thousands of guys messaging them. And look, you can sit there and get all sad and sobby about that and turn to a nice guy and poor me, girls don't like me. Or you can bloody do something about it and get better at having conversations and stand out from all the other peasants. Something I see all the time is conversations will be like a job interview and they're asking them a bunch of questions. You think, okay, I've gone through 5 questions now I can ask them out. But you haven't done anything to show that you're fun, you're charming, you're desirable, and that she will have a good time when you are together in person. And that's what it's all about. Your match needs to feel something when you chat online so that she knows that there's a better chance of feeling that spark when you're actually in person. So I'm telling you right now, if you're keeping your conversations safe because you overthink what to say and you're like, oh, I wonder if she'll get that joke, things like that, I'm telling you that your conversations are dull and boring. And this is shooting yourself in the foot, arguably just as much as sending inappropriate or gross messages. And before you start thinking, oh, women these days, it used to be much easier back in the day before online dating, get over that right now, do something about it. You're not one of those plebs that's gonna sit in their sorrow. You're gonna have good conversations, you're gonna get matches, you're gonna get dates. So you're probably wondering at this point, what are those 6 pillars of conversation? Steve, how can I have good conversations on Bumble or any dating app? Well, let's get into that, but first, just a word from today's sponsor. So just a very short break for today's sponsor, and today's sponsor is me. Now the channel is supported 100% by just myself. We don't have any external sponsors. With that being said, I want to tell you about today's sponsor, which is Hook Her Heart. I've developed this groundbreaking new course which teaches you everything you would need to know about online dating from A to Z. It's called Hook Her Heart, the modern gentleman's guide to attracting, entertaining, and retaining high quality women. In my new jam-packed 5-module course, I'll walk you through some of the most vital concepts like how to build a good physique, exactly what to eat, whether you want to lean up or gain some muscle, my methodology for upgrading your look from grooming to a whole wardrobe transformation, a fresh overhaul to an attractive, intriguing dating profile, my exact process for optimizing your pictures to get way more matches, my best openers that get interested responses from women, live breakdowns breakdowns of magnetic conversations, my core methodologies, and the 6 pillars of conversation. What to do on the date to give her an amazing experience, and the smoothest, most natural way to escalate towards your end goal. Plus, so much more inside the course. And 3 awesome bonuses that you'll get for free if you sign up before my special introductory price expires. So if you are serious about transforming your dating life and you want to learn literally everything you would ever need to, well then click the link down in the description below so you can get the special introductory price offer that's not going to be available for long. Now that's it for today's sponsor. Back to the video. Now, if there was anything when it comes to online dating that would actually help you, it wouldn't be having good photos or a good opener or a good bio. It would be getting the foundations right of what makes a good conversation. And as I said before, almost all good online dating conversations that I've seen that have led to a date, that I've had myself, that my clients have had, at least have 4 of these 6 pillars. Okay, so the first pillar is to guide the way. Now, what I mean by that is so many guys will just throw shit at the wall and hope that it sticks, and they don't have any clear direction of where their conversations are going. But if you keep your main goal at the back of your mind with every single message that you send, i.e. meeting up, going on a date, then it makes things a whole lot easier. So this might be very simple things like finding out what their work schedule is like or what days they're free, so you can use that for later on when you are asking them out. Or it could be just like planting seeds of real life events or things that you do share an interest that you can also use when it comes to asking out. For example, if there's a movie that you've spoken about earlier on that you know is coming out soon, or you know that she's a teacher and only has weekends free. So when it comes to asking her out, you can ask her to go out to the movie, and because of her work schedule, you know that you're going to ask her out on the weekend, so she's not worried about waking up too early for work the next day. It sounds really basic, guys, but it's just those little things that kind of just help your chance when you are actually going to ask her out. You've got all the information up your sleeve, and then it doesn't create this awkward like kind of rescheduling, oh no, maybe we can do this on that date type thing when it does come to asking her out. A man that knows what's up and can preemptively jump into her brain and sort of mitigate all those things that might be standing in your way of getting a date is a very attractive thing. Number 2 is to be ridiculous. Now, being ridiculous is just making sure that every single Bumble conversation you have is as fun as possible. And taking it a step further, it's making sure that you stand out from every single other conversation that she's having, especially the boring ones. And this has 2 benefits. Not only will your Bumble match be entertained, but so will you. If your Bumble conversations are fun, you will be way more motivated to actually jump on and have more conversations. And look, being ridiculous can mean quite a few different things. It could be some really over-the-top confidence, some cheeky sarcasm, or some downright surreal humor. Remember, playing it safe is the worst thing that you can do with conversations. And doing this and not playing it safe just shows the utmost confidence, because you're not molding yourself to fit what you think is the right thing to do. You're being yourself, you're walking to the beat of your own drum, and most of the time, that is an attractive quality. And for the ones that it isn't, they can go and have their little boring conversations. And they are definitely the minority. Number 3 is banter. Now, this one kind of goes hand in hand with that last one. And essentially, it's kind of like some light teasing. Unless you're from Australia or the UK, you probably might not be totally accustomed to what banter is, but it's essentially just poking fun at your match when she knows that you are joking. Now, we've all heard of things like a kid poking fun or being a little bit mean to the girl that they like, and this is kind of like a grown-up version of that. I'm definitely not saying to go ahead and just be an absolute prick and be mean to your match, but it's just like little poking fun that they know that you're obviously joking. Now, look, I do this with my girlfriend all the time in person, and she'll be like, stop, that you can see the little smile, and you know that they love it, but it's just a little bit of teasing. Now, it could be something that's like a little bit taken out of context. Maybe they said something that if you've read it in a different way, it could be perceived as something like a little bit full on or forward. Now, for example, I was having a conversation not that long ago when I was in Medellin, and I was being completely ridiculous. So the girl met me on that level and said that she wanted blonde babies. And as a bit of banter, I was like, whoa, calm down. That's very, very forward. Holy shit. But she knew I was like joking because we're in that realm already. We're back and forth with a bit of banter, a bit of ridiculousness. But the point is, don't be afraid to take risks.
It's probably the biggest risk I've ever taken in my life.
Now, definitely don't come right out and start doing something called negging, which is essentially just being mean and making them rethink how they look and whatnot. That's some simp energy right there. Don't do that. But look, I will admit that banter is walking a bit of a fine line. So again, if you want to learn how to actually do that properly, you might want to check out Hook Her Heart. Hook Her Heart goes into a great length of detail and gives you real world examples. And I break down some of my live conversations and how I use banter banter, ridiculousness, and all these 6 pillars in a lot of detail. So just a reminder, the link is down in the description if you do want to check that out. Number 4 is empathy. Now, empathy, when it comes to these 6 pillars of conversation at least, really comes down to just understanding where your match is coming from. Or better yet, understanding what the online dating landscape for women is like. Because at the end of the day, guys that just get it are going to be much more attractive than the guys that are flailing around. It's kind of like your inner compass and jumping into her brain and preemptively understanding some things that are going on without even needing to ask. An example that I go through in Hook Her Heart is talking about how to get a Netflix and chill date. Now, look, that is something that some guys want. So we're in 2023, guys. There's no reason to not talk about it. And one of those things when it comes to empathy to help your cause to get a date like that, it's just understanding what it's like for women. They get asked out all the time by creeps. So when you go ahead and you ask her out for a Netflix and chill date, actually stating that you understand what it's like out there can only help your chances. Again, I go through way more detail, but it's essentially just like your 6th sense and just showing your match that you understand, you get it, you know what it's like for her. So you're not going to turn into one of these nice guys and flip out when she doesn't want to go out with you or something. It creates a lot more trust. It's going to put her mind at ease, and it's definitely going to increase your chances to actually end up on the date. Now, number 5 is to centralize. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying to go ahead and start sending really over the top sexual innuendos and being gross and talking about what you're going to do to her when you meet her. That is quite literally the worst thing that you can do. This is a massive balancing act, and it's just about throwing out little tidbits that make her start thinking about you in that light. Going back to that example I said before, when the match said something about wanting blonde babies, she was talking about how she's dark haired and brunette, and I was doing a little bit of self-deprecating humor, saying I'm really white and, you know, have a little tinge of ginge. But then I came out and said, imagine how attractive our babies would be. Now, we all know what you have to do to make babies. If you don't, you probably shouldn't be watching this video, and you should go watch another one or go speak to your parents. But essentially, centralizing is throwing out quite innocent little things like this, where your match is going to start thinking about you in that light, you two together, you two doing the thing. You know, I don't want to get demonetized, but you get where I'm coming from. And it's really just about being like a little bit cheeky, definitely not being over the top and sexual, and not creating any unnecessary pressure when you guys come to meeting up. Again, in Hook or Heart, heaps of examples so you know exactly what to do. And lastly, number 6 is to confide. So throughout all this, we've been a little bit bantery, a bit ridiculous, being jokey and funny, but showing that you have a little bit of substance definitely can only help your conversations. Now, this shouldn't be a forced thing, and you should use it somewhat sparingly. It's probably the pillar that you're going to use the least, but it's just showing that you're not like a typical fuckboy and that you are emotionally mature, you're emotionally available, and you're not afraid to talk about things and be vulnerable with your match. We've probably all seen the trope in movies and stuff where there's like a bad boy and then they open up a little bit to the main character girl and they're like, oh wow. So it's essentially just a very similar thing. For example, when I was traveling not that long ago, before I was in a relationship, something that came out a couple of times was, you know, mentioning how I was maybe a little bit homesick in those days. I miss my mom and things like that. Now, again, this is not forced. It needs to be natural and it needs to come out organically. Don't just start throwing this out at the start of your conversations. But once you've made a bit of a connection, you've spoken about some of these things, and then you pull it out, it is so impactful. So there you have it. Those are the 6 pillars of conversation. Now, keep in mind that not every conversation is going to implement all 6. If you're doing 4 out of those 6, then you're definitely doing a way better job than 99% of conversations going down on any dating app today. And if you want to make sure that you're in a position to even get the matches so you can have these conversations, remember to go and take my free quiz below, which will allow me and my team to give you personalized recommendations based on your profile and your answers to that quiz. That's going to be the quickest way to instantly improve your profile. But if you want to take that a step further and make sure your profile is sick and that you are having the best conversations possible and you're getting these 6 pillars of conversations down, make sure you do check out Hook or Heart, which is down in the description below. But if you want to get more matches and you don't want to take on any of that free stuff down in the description below, then you can just watch this video here on how to actually take really good photos for Hinge to make sure that your profile is standing out. But until next time, guys, I'll see you later.